today is called French silk pie. I have no idea why it's called French silk pie, but I found it in AccuQuilt 8, and that's what they called it, so that's what I'm calling it. This is a 12-inch block, and here's the diagram. Here is what it looks like with 4 blocks put together with sashing. I like how this little 9-patch thing looks when you have the sashing and the cornerstones between these blocks. I want to talk to you today about block construction and block deconstruction. If you found a picture of this block and you wanted to know how you could recreate it, here's what you do. Most blocks are put together in grids. So look for the grid. And what I mean by a grid is if you look here, you can see that this is 1/3 of it, this column. Here's another third and another third. So if you divide this like a tic-tac-toe board, you'll have 9 spaces to fill out. You have this space in the corner, center, corner, and then 3 across and 3 across. So you have 3 across here and 3 down. So this is a 9-patch grid because there are 9 spaces in here where you need to fill in your units. And if you look here, this is a cat's cradle unit. It's a square with 2 small triangles and a large triangle. This is a rectangle and a flying geese, and you sew those together to make a unit. Here's your cat's cradle again. Here's your flying geese and rectangle unit and your cat's cradle. And then the center is a single block. It's just a square. This block has 3 different units. The cat's cradle, this, we'll call it rectangle flying geese unit, and a square. We've made this block 12 inches. That means each square here has to be 4 inches finished. So this is 4 inches, 4, 4. They're all 4-inch finished because 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12 across, and the same thing down. One question I get a lot is, can I make this a whatever size block? If you want to make this a 9-inch block, it's fairly easy to do that. Instead of making each square 4 inches, you make each square 3 inches. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. That's how you can reduce this block. If you want to make it bigger, then you make these 5 inches. So if this is 5 inches plus 5 inches plus 5 inches, that's 15 inches. So you can see how it goes. This is a 3x3 grid, and in this case we have 3 different units, and then we put those together into the block. Another question or comment I get a lot is, how do I rotary cut these? And in all of these videos, I have the rotary cutting instructions here. I get these from AccuQuilt 8, and if you have a rotary cutter and a ruler, you can make this block. In most cases, there are some cases where if you have a tri-rec unit or something, I don't know how to rotary cut those and get accurate results. So I use a tool for that. But in most cases, if you just have a rotary cutter and a ruler, you can cut these pieces and make this block. I have added, where I can, the AccuQuilt dies. These are for the people that use AccuQuilt. They can just use their dies for this as well. And there's many different ways you can piece this. For instance, the flying geese unit here, there's a method called 4 at a time flying geese. You cut squares and you can make the flying geese 4 at a time. You only have 4 in this unit. You can use that method. I'm doing this just as the basic patchwork quilting, and that's how we cut these up. Usually if I have room in the notes, I'll put the alternatives for flying geese or half square triangle. Now let's look at the patches, and I'm going to tell you where each patch goes as we look at it. Here's patch A. It is a 2-inch finished square. The pieces are cut 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. We need 4 patches of this dark fabric. Here's the AccuQuilt die you can use. If you have an 8-inch cube, you can use it for this block. Now this patch A goes right here in this cat's cradle unit. And you can see there are 4 of them. in the corners. Patch B is a 2-inch finished half square triangle. You cut 2 7/8-inch squares, cut them in half once diagonally, and you'll get 2 patches. You'll need 8 of these patches for the background, and these go in the cat's cradle unit as well. So there are 2 here, 2 in each corner. That makes your 8 patches. You'll need 8 patches of the dark fabric as well, and these will go in the flying geese unit. We'll make the flying geese by sewing together these 3 different triangles. So patch B are the dark ones of the flying geese. Patch C is a 2-inch by 4-inch finished rectangle. You'll need 4 patches of this floral fabric, and these go next to the flying geese units. Okay, now patch D is a 4-inch finished square, and so you cut it 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and it's from the floral fabric, and it goes in the center. Patch E is a 4-inch finished half square triangle. These are cut 4 7/8-inch squares, and cut them in half once diagonally, and you get 2 patches. You'll need 4 patches of the red fabric, and these go in the cat's cradle unit as well, the big red triangles. Because you need 4 patches, you'll have to cut 2 squares and cut each one in half diagonally. So that's 2 per each square, and that gives you your 4. And finally, the F patch is a 1/4 square triangle, 4-inch finished. You'll cut 5 1/4-inch squares, and then cut each square in half twice diagonally, and you'll get 4 patches. You'll need these 4 patches for the background fabric. So you'll just cut 1 square and cut it in half twice, and you'll get your 4 patches. And these 4 patches go in the flying geese unit. It's the geese portion of the flying geese. Now let's look at the fabrics. I've laid them out. Instead of laying them out by the patches, I've laid them out by the units they make. Here is your cat's cradle unit. This is patch A, patch B, and patch E. That's the cat's cradle unit, and you make 4 of these. Here is the rectangle, which is patch C. Here's the flying geese part. Patch B is here, the sides, and patch F is the geese part. Here we have our 4-inch finished square in the center. To piece the cat's cradle unit, I have the instructions on page 2. We're going to take our A patch and 2 B patches and sew them together. Here is your A patch, and you sew your B patch like this. Sew this first, press it, then sew this other piece here. Sew it and press it, then you'll have this. Next, you're just going to add your bigger triangle and then press that, and you'll make 4 like this. For the flying geese unit, you'll take 1 F patch and 2 of the dark B patches. You'll sew these together. I usually put one side first, so flip it over, stitch it, press it, and then stitch your other side, stitch it, and press it. And you'll make 4 of these. After you make these units, stitch your rectangle like this, and then press it. You'll make 4 of these units as well. I'm going to the cat's cradle unit and the rectangle flying geese unit and put the block together. This shows you how I chain piece these together. So this, I'm stitching one side of the flying geese, and I do all in a row without stopping the stitching, and this is the one side of the cat's cradle unit. Now I'll cut these apart and press them open. Here is part 2 of the chain piecing. This is the cat's cradle unit. Here, now I'm going to cut them apart and press them. Here is the flying geese unit. These 4 are the flying geese, and these are the cat's cradle. Here is the final chain piecing. This is the rectangle and flying geese unit. I'll cut these apart and press them. And here is the cat's cradle unit. And I'll cut these apart and press these. Here are our 3 different units: cat's cradle, flying geese, rectangle, and square. Now let's put them together in our 3x3 grid. I start in the center, and I'm going to follow the diagram, and I'll put the cat's cradle in first in the corners with the squares facing out. Then add the flying geese rectangle units, and the flying geese are going to form a star. That's how you know how to put them down. Spread these out a little bit, which I should have done earlier. You can clearly see our 3x3 grid. We have 3 across and 3 down. I'll sew each unit into a row. There are 3 rows. Then I'll sew the rows together to form the block.